Hi there, it's Linda from Lányos Handmade. It's really early morning and I hope the lighting's okay in here, but it's a little bit dusky out there. Today we're going to make the Callisto case from Cork and Copper Designs. So I will put the link for the Callisto case down below for the pattern. I think YouTube is changing its format and the links won't be clickable anymore. You have to actually copy and paste them into a browser to open them up. But still, that change is coming. And I'm going to put the link in anyway, and we'll see if it works in the future. This is the Callisto case. I've made 3 of them here, actually. These 2 are made with vinyl from THCG Supply. And just to let you know, they have sheets of vinyl, and I used, how many? Well, this was leftover, actually. So I used probably 1, and I had this 2 and maybe a half sheets to do this one. And then for this one, I used 2 sheets and had a lot of leftover just because I had to put the different color border on there. So these are cute little cases. They can be used for all sorts of things. She has instructions in the pattern for you so that you can put holes and grommets in them. So you can use them as pencil cases, put in your binder if you like. I also made one. This is the one I made in the video. And this one is cork. And these were all scraps of cork that I used. So you can see there's not one whole sheet in here. So that's another option for you. And I'll show you how to scrap the cork together to do this in the video so that you can make this out of, what is this? This is just strips maybe 3 inches wide. And we pieced them all together and made ourselves a little case that you could sell at the market. Actually, it's a quick gift for friends too. You know, one of these, put in some goodies, maybe some chocolate, maybe some gift cards, coffee cards, stuff like that. So I'll put the link below for the pattern and for Cork and Copper Designs Facebook group, and also for the cork and the hardware. And this hardware both came from Atelier, both of them. This one came from the Moody Sewist, so that's a different one. So I'll put those links below too. And I guess we can get started. So before we start, I have to piece all this together because I am making the ultimate scrap buster and I'm not cutting any of my new rolls. Now, if you are piecing things together, you always aim for a size that's bigger than what you need. This is way bigger, but that's okay. I put it up against the ruler so I know that I'm making it straight. And then after, when I sew it, I can trim off to the right size I need. And I have to continue with this one too. And I think with this one, I'm going to put the short pieces in the middle and the long pieces on the edge. And that will give me a big sheet of cork that I can use to make my, cut my proper piece out of. So I'm going to run some double-sided tape all along here. This is really good stuff. It's really narrow and it comes off easily, this backing. And now it won't because I'm on a video. And then it also sticks just good enough so that you can have, my edge isn't straight. I'm going to go straighten out that edge. But then you can put it on here and sew it down. So I'm going to straighten this out. Can't have a messy edge there. Place all these down overlapping. Sew them on. And then we can start making our Callisto case. So here's my finished. This is my big piece that I'm going to cut out my pattern piece from. If you find when you're top stitching and you mess up your top stitching, you can always just pick out one stitch and maybe an inch this way and an inch that way, and then pull the threads through, tie them off, and stick a bit of glue on them so they don't unravel. And then that 2-inch space that you have there, you can just re-stitch. You don't have to pull out the whole row of top stitching. Another thing about sewing these things together is if you find you've fallen off the ridge, like it looks good on this side, but on the other side maybe there's a little bit of a dip or something, so on the wrong side you didn't actually catch the second layer, then all you do is peel up on the wrong side that little bit and put some fabric glue in there or something. Don't trust the double-sided tape to hold it forever, because it will hold it together but not forever. And then that way you don't even have to mess up your top stitching if there's just a spot of glue in one place, and nobody will see it on the inside. So now I'm going to cut out my pattern piece and we can get started on sewing our Callisto case. So now let's work on our zipper. I've got the pattern piece all cut out. You probably can't see it. Oh, there. Maybe you can see it. Let's put on our zipper here. We are not going to put the pull on yet, but we are going to line this up here and sew it on. Right sides together. You can use double-sided tape, or you can just clip it. So I think I'm going to clip it. Now I used my stitch in the ditch foot or edge stitch foot or whatever you want to call it for sewing these repairs in here, patching it all together. And I'm going to switch to my zipper foot to sew this on. Then once I get this sewed on, I will come back to you. Now we have it sewed on one side. Now let's sew it on the other side. I don't take the zipper apart just yet because we're trying to get these two sides as level as possible. So let's have a little feel here. If I put a clip here and start attaching the zipper, when I flatten it down, is it going to be nice and even along here? A little bit off on this side, so I'm going to double check because we want to have these two sides straight. It's a good reason not to separate your zipper just yet. You don't want it all warpy. Okay, that feels pretty good. So now I can sew it on the other side. Now it's sewed on both sides. Let's just fold it here a little bit. And I like to press it down, try and convince the thing that it's going to go this way. And I also am going to clip it. I hope I'm not shaking the camera too much. So now, let's clip it. I think it's got a little bit of a bend in it. And this will make sure that the zipper stays down flat inside. So we'll sew it down this way too. So, the zipper's sewn on, and it's also pushed down so that it's not going to be flapping around inside, making a mess of things. These are my facings. Because I'm using cork, I don't have to have facings, but I'm going to do them anyway because it's going to give me another opportunity to do some top stitching around it, add some, I don't know, classiness, decoration, whatever you want to call it, to it. So these are mostly put on if you've got clear see-through vinyl and you don't want to hide because you will see all this mess if it's clear. With cork, this would be fine too. But I'm going to put this on because I like it, and I'll clip it down. Just sew down this side and then sew down that side. I'm going to put my edge stitch foot back on and make sure it's nice and straight. And then I can do the one on the other side too. This is the one that it was pieced together a little bit, so it's got that stitching in the middle, and I don't mind. I like it. I like seeing the top stitching on cork. So I'll go put these 2 pieces on, and I'll be back. There, now we've got our facings on too. I went down, across, and up. You don't have to go across. It's just that I like to keep going in a continuous line when I'm sewing with less stops and starts. The other thing about sewing anything cork, vinyl, is stitch length. And this was 3.5 here for my top stitching, but I'm pretty sure I did 3 or something for putting the zipper in. So try and, you know, alternate, mix up your stitch length so that you're not always sewing in the same spot. So you're not making continuous holes and perforating your material. Now we can put on our zipper pull. Now when you're pulling it through, you might notice it's not quite lined up. Check and see. And if it's not, then do it again, because you want to have it pretty much lined up. You don't want it really off. It's hard to tell with this bit hanging over here, but you can see from the way it lies. Is it going to lie down nice? That looks pretty good. Then you run your zipper pull right through again, because you want to make sure these are nice and smooth. Then let's put this on again. Now I like to find the center, especially with this one that it's all pieced together, of the back, both sides. And then I can match the center up with the center of my zipper. And then I can clip it. Because I just want to follow through and get the corners here nicely, so that I can take this over to my cutting table and cut that extra off, because we don't need this bit here now. So I'm going to do that on both sides and I'll come back. Now it's all clipped and I trimmed it down, both sides. Now I can sew this end and this end up. Okay, we're in the home stretch now, and again, Sophie thinks it's lunchtime, so she's going to be meowing through this whole video. Now, don't forget to put, I hope you didn't forget to put on your zipper pull, and don't forget to put on your label. And this gets measured in here. Even though the line's drawn, you don't want to go right on the line because there's a thickness to consider. So play around with it a bit and decide if that's the good spot for it, because you want these two ends to match up, right? And that's pretty good right there. So I'm going to take the double-sided tape off and press it down on there. First, I'm going to press this down on here too. And you have to remember, if you fold this over and shove this on the edge, you're going to cover up half of it. So try and remember that you really, really want to have this sort of in seam allowance, but hardly in the seam allowance. Otherwise it won't show. So test that out too. Yeah, I will just catch it doing that. Okay. Maybe I'll even move it up a bit more. Yep, that's even better. Okay, so I can pull this off. You might have noticed I did not sew this down. I really like the puffiness of it. if you're going to put grommets in, you probably should sew it down because it'll help you, but you can always do it after the fact too. Good. Now same for this side. Okay, let's sew this down. Okay, now that we've sewed this down, we have to clip off those corners because they overhang just a little bit. When you're cutting, make sure you go straight, or better yet, go away from the edge on the outside, because you don't want to cut into your actual case. It's better to take off. Yeah, that's good. It's better to take off less than too much. So now, technically speaking, your case is finished. And if you want to do the grommets option on it, because this is good as it is for any sorts of things you might have. If you want to do the grommets option, you would have sewed down this side. Okay, now you can sew it down now. I'd just pull my threads through and I'd stick some glue on it to reinforce it, just like I did when I was sewing this. I wouldn't sew up into here. I'd just do between here and here. Now the other thing is she has this template here. And this could help you too. Now, let's just clip this on here so it stays. And of course, it would be nice to get it centered very nicely. Now before I use this, I would test it in the binder I have, just in case your binder holes are in a different spot. Also, if you're making the small one, you can still use this, but you have to be kind of arbitrary on where you're going to put your holes, because the small one might only be this big. So you're going to end up with 2 holes only. And if that's the case, you might as well see if you can go this way, because that's a possibility too. You could put 2 holes here. So it doesn't really matter where you put the holes, except they have to fit your binder. So what I would be doing is I would stick a little dot right here in the center with a marker, right? Then I'd remove this. I have already tested this to see that these holes work on my binders, so the marks that I leave will work on my binder. Then I would put this on here. This is the top. And I would draw around in here, making sure that I was centered right where the little mark was, because my hole here doesn't match her hole. All these grommets are a different size. And these are the squishy kind, and I don't know how I got them. I wouldn't have bought them by choice, because what you have to do is mark it, mark the little circle, then cut out with the little X. Trim out, trim out, trim out until you have a little circle hole in here. And then you can push this through the circle hole, turn it upside down, put the other piece on. I've got a side here. That goes on. Then after you get the thing that I can't find, and it's my little hammer, and put it on top of this and hammer it, and it's going to squish the flanges of the thing underneath and spread them out here. And you're going to end up with a big, huge hole with a grommet around it. Now, these are even the wrong size. I don't even like these ones. But that's basically how you stick the grommet on. If you have a machine, a press that does it itself, then, you know, you probably have a variety of sizes of grommets. But just for an example, just to show you, that's how you do it. I am not going to do it because I don't want 3 holes that big in my case. So I'm going to leave this right now as it is. But that's how you would do it if you had the squishy kind. If you had a machine, you already know how to run your machine, so you're all set to go. So I think I'm finished. So how'd that go? Which size did you make? What material did you make yours out of? Did you make the small one? You know, you could even put grommets in the small one and use the small one in a binder. So this is a quick sew. It's great for markets. It's great for gifts. And I really hope you enjoy sewing up the pattern and pop a few off there. We certainly would like to see your projects. Maybe you'll inspire some other people to be creative too. So don't forget to post your makes. Cork and Copper Designs has their own Facebook group. I'll put the link down below. You can ask her questions. You can post your makes, what you've done with her pattern. And I hope you enjoyed this. So for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.